Join me as I dive deep into the life of Charles Sobhraj and try to figure out if he's still a serial killer in 2025. Charles Sobhraj, also known as the Bikini Killer, is a name that sends chills down the spine of many. He was notorious for his string of murders in Southeast Asia during the 1970s. The question on everyone's mind is, can he still be considered a serial killer in 2025? Defining whether Sobhraj is still a serial killer in 2025 is quite complex. At the time of his crimes, he was young and very active. Today, he's an elderly man. His age and current legal status raise questions about his ability to commit further crimes. Many people might argue that a serial killer is someone who is still actively killing. But what about those who have stopped due to imprisonment or other circumstances? The term serial killer often brings to mind images of someone who is still on the loose, still killing. However, in legal and psychological terms, it's not that straightforward. A serial killer is typically defined as someone who has committed multiple murders, usually with a psychological or emotional motivation. Whether or not Sobhraj fits this definition in 2025 depends on how one weighs his past actions against his current situation. As we consider Sobhraj's status, it's also important to look at his criminal history. He was convicted of murdering several young women, often targeting tourists. His methods were brutal and calculated, earning him his infamous nickname. But what about recent developments? Has there been any change in his legal status or any new information that could affect how we see him today? Sobhraj's criminal history is well documented. He preyed on tourists, particularly women, in Thailand and other parts of Asia. His charm and charisma made him a wolf in sheep's clothing. The impact of his actions was devastating for the families of his victims and for the communities affected. In recent years, there have been discussions and some developments regarding Sobhraj's case. However, these have not significantly altered the public's perception of him as a dangerous individual. Despite being imprisoned for many years, his past continues to define him in the eyes of the public. There have been no recent credible reports suggesting Sobhraj has escaped or been released and resumed his killing activities. Nonetheless, his legacy as a serial killer continues to fascinate and horrify people alike. As of my last update, there's no new evidence to suggest that Sobhraj is still actively killing. The legal system has dealt with him according to the crimes he committed. But the question remains, does his past define him in 2025? To wrap things up, the question of whether Charles Sobhraj is still considered a serial killer in 2025 hinges on how one defines the term. His past actions are undeniable, but his current status as an elderly man behind bars complicates the issue. What do you think, guys? Do you believe Sobhraj is still a serial killer, or is his age and imprisonment a reason to see him differently? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you're into true crime stories like this one, I've got plenty more where this came from. Just check out my other videos.